anytime, any day. Why not right now? Stop looking up to your boss and start being your own boss. Don't work for paychecks. Work for dreams with no regrets. This is Cracking the Entrepreneur Code. If you have the passion, we'll create the blueprint. Now, your host. You know him from his 7 tips to build the business you always wanted, and now you're about to hear a lot more. Jack H.M. Wong.
Welcome to another episode of Cracking the Entrepreneur Code podcast show. And by the way, this is the last episode of season 1 of the Cracking the Entrepreneur Code podcast, because I want to start season 2 in 2019. At the time of recording this episode, this is the last week of December 2018. So I feel that it is the right time for me to wrap up this season to help you understand some of the key business lessons that I have learned from various guests. So I learned that a lot of people are afraid of selling their services, their products, because somehow, maybe because of the traditional education system, people learned nothing except to follow rules, except to become the better employees, expect to become a good follower of instructions. So when they decide to start the entrepreneurship journey, many of them suffer from what I would call the Salesphobia. They are afraid of asking for money because they don't know how to ask, or they don't see themselves being able to persuade the other prospect to buy from them. So a few episodes where I have invited guests, especially the successful coaches, they share with me the tips of how they can ask money from the prospects. So I remember one of the key aspects is, instead of being pushy, instead of being salesy, slimy, sleazy, all these things that most people turn off because typical salesperson does this. We are engaged in what I would call the heart-to-heart conversation. And in fact, when you learn how to have a deeper conversation with your prospect, you begin to realize that you are not actually selling them something. In fact, what you're doing is to serve them, to give them a solution to the problems that they are facing. And at the end of the day, when they realize that they need you, they want what you offer to them, and they say, "Thank you for helping me." That's how a sales transaction is closed. So I realized that in quarter 1 of 2019, when I begin to start season 2 of Cracking the Entrepreneur Code podcast, I would devote quarter 1 specifically on selling and closing. I want to share with you some of the ways in which I have used in my own businesses, learning from many gurus, mentors, sales trainers, closers, be it online, offline, one-on-one, one-to-many. All I'm doing is I'll go and share with you how I deal with various situations so as to help you understand at the end of the day whether you choose to sell your products or service, or you decide to become a closer like me, you will have the resources that you need in order to create results for yourself. And I hate to say that many people I know love to talk about selling and closing, and they can be very good in actually offering ideas, suggestions, until they create results, until they have shown you that they have done something. I would just not believe in what they are saying. I mean, this is the hard truth in business. You've got to produce results before people can believe in you, before people can understand and accept the fact that you are qualified to teach them, to train them, to mentor them. So quarter 1 is going to be a very interesting quarter, because to me, if you do not know how to sell, if you don't know how to close, you are not able to get money from the prospects and put this into a pocket, you'll be sooner or later out of businesses. How many of you agree? Okay, so that's what I'm going to do in quarter 1. Okay, coming back to what I learned in season 1, some of the people that I interview talk about the fact that in the traditional education system, they don't see themselves to be successful. They don't see themselves as a leader. They don't see themselves being able to lead someone. So I said to myself, why is that situation happening in the real world? The answer is that we are in the environment that's surrounded with what we call the crabs. People with negative mindset, people with negative thoughts. And even though you may have strong willpower, as my teacher taught me, you could have strong willpower because you have been through a lot of personal development program, or you might be of very high energy in a room that is with like-minded people. Unfortunately, when you go back to the real world, when you're surrounded with so many people with negative energy, they will basically drag you down because they don't want you to leave them. They want you to come back, as the crab theory suggests, that they want you to be with them forever. So I learned that in order to be successful as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you've got to be a leader. So how do you become a leader? So I believe that I will devote quarter 2 to discuss the various tips, insights, and experiences to enable you to become a better leader. To be a better leader, first of all, you need to create a better version of yourself. That is what we call starting from within. Then you will be able to attract people to follow you. So I will devote quarter 2 essentially to look into various topics on leadership. Sounds good? I hope so. Then in the interviews, I also learned that sometimes entrepreneurs or business owners, when they feel they are not so successful, it's because they are working alone. It's a very similar topic of leadership because when you are working alone, as the school suggests, you are not allowed to work with other people, or else that is called what? Right? That's right. It's called cheating. Collusion is totally not acceptable in school environment. So that's why many people who are going out of the job and turn to the entrepreneurship world, they are always looking at starting alone, and they will remain alone for a very long time. As Robert Kiyosaki says in his cash flow quadrant, the reason why people remain in the self-employed quadrant is because they don't trust other people, or they feel that they are the best. As Kiyosaki said, he is not the smartest person in his team. He let other smartest people to be on his team to help him. So as long as you are able to let go of this trust element and be humble and not to say that you are the smartest person on the team, guess what? You'll be able to get people to join your team. So I thought that maybe I wanted to talk about in quarter 3. I've not really finalized that yet, but in quarter 3, I may be talking about something called how to build a champion team, how to create an A team, how do you recruit A players. So I thought that might be a cool topic to discuss. Okay? Let's talk about final thing, how to build a business successfully for a longer term. Because if you don't have something called systems, what's the word? That's right, systems. You are not able to create a routine process that enables you to get out of this business. How many of you realize that in order to be able to work on the business, not working in the business, you need systems? So the question is that how do we build systems? As I'm actually working with a few clients, I realized that some entrepreneurs, they are very good in thinking of some great ideas as they suggest. However, when I ask them, so how do you put these ideas into practice? How do you systemize your ideas so that it becomes repeatable process? Some of them actually got stuck, which is pretty common because systemization looks very boring to many people who love fun, who love to have the joy and varieties. Systemization is something that you require what we call the discipline. Be able to document the steps, put them in black and white. It's kind of very boring. However, there are certain groups of people who are actually able to do that. There's the gift, the talents that they have. So I'm saying to myself that luckily or fortunately, I belong to this group of people. I do know what systemization means. I do know what systemization can do for my business. And most importantly, I'm able to leverage my gift on systemization to help other people to create their own systems. So I thought maybe in quarter 4 of 2019, I'm going to introduce some of the key topics, some of the key insights of what systemization is all about. So that was what I'm going to do in quarter 4. Again, quarter 3 and quarter 4 are on planning stage. It depends on what's the response from you guys who are listening to this podcast show. I want to hear your feedback so that I know what I could do in quarter 3 and quarter 4. But quarter 1, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to talk about closing and selling because this is a very important topic. Remember, if you can't sell, if you don't know how to close, there's no business whatsoever. Got it? So, let's wrap up in this season by having something in mind. You need to know how to become a successful entrepreneur. There are a few elements that you must have. 1, you must have the ability to sell and close, which is very important. Number 2, you need to build the structure of your business, have the system in place so that you are able to work on the business, not working in the business, to get yourself out of the business so that your job is no longer selling and closing products and services. In fact, you'll be teaching your team how to do that. So you become the leader of your business, you become the leader of these people who are your followers. So I found that all these 4 topics do link. So at the end of 2019, I hope that you will see how a business is successfully built with these few elements. And that's my vision for season 2 of the Cracking Entrepreneur Code podcast show, how it is going to happen, how it looks like, how it sounds like. I hope that you will get excited because I'm painting a picture all the way to end of 2019 to help you understand that's how a business is supposed to be built. Learning from all the tools, techniques, experience from these people who created their own 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, and even 9-figure businesses. Okay, so I'll keep this episode a bit shorter because it's just a summary. It's just my vision of how 2019 looks like. Remember, 2019 is better than 2018 because you become wiser, you become smarter, you have more experiences, and you learn from the mistakes that you have made in the past. Idiots make mistakes and repeat them. But if you are a listener of this podcast show, you are supposed to be a smart guy. You will learn from the mistake you have made before, but the good news is that you will not repeat these mistakes. Won't you agree? So I look forward to serving you in season 2, Cracking the Entrepreneur Code podcast show. The first episode is going to be published sometimes in Jan 2019. I'm going off for holiday because I need a break. But after I come back, I will quickly look at the schedule and turn out this episode, create the contents. In 2019, I will not be featuring any guests to be on my show. Primarily, I'll be doing this on my own because you have all the episodes from episodes 24 all the way to 60 who have listened many times from these guests who share with you the wisdoms, the intelligence, and the experience so that you are able to see how you can build a business. So in season 2, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lead, show you how a business is supposed to be built, show you how you can become a better salesperson, or if you choose to, become a better closer. Choose to be a better leader, create a better version of yourself, and most importantly, build a business with the strong foundation and structure, systemize it so that ultimate dream for all entrepreneurs is number 1, to be working on the business, and number 2, gives you the choice to sell the business for big profit if you choose to. That's what my teacher T. Harv Eker says. The moment you decide to start a business, the first question is, how are you going to exit? And he taught me this. What is an exit approach or exit strategy? If you don't have a system, you can't exit because your business is you and you are the business. Make sense? Okay, so that's the end of this episode of Cracking the Entrepreneur Code podcast show. And also, that's the final episode of season 1, Cracking the Entrepreneur Code podcast show. I thank all of my listeners, which means you, who have been supportive, who have been giving comments. Some of you actually model the way I created my episodes consistently and regularly. And although in episode 61 I said most people have given up after they have launched the podcast show or created the first episode, I do know some of you have been consistently creating your episodes. So good job, guys. it's always good to model other people who have done that, have been there before. Isn't it true that you can always learn from other people so that you can shorten your learning curve? So I'm constantly modeling other successful people. I'm happy that some of you are modeling my business model too. So congratulations. Okay? So once again, thank you for your support. And that concludes Season 1, Cracking the Entrepreneur Code podcast show. Jack Wong here, your host. Sign off now. Merry Christmas at the time of preparing this episode, and have a happy holiday. Bye-bye.
To continue cracking the entrepreneur code, subscribe for more episodes and download the Amazon bestseller, Cracking the Entrepreneur Code, 7 Tips to Build the Business You Always Wanted at crackingentrepreneurcode.com. Learn more about author and host Jack H.M. Wong and book your 30-minute discovery session to overcome any professional challenge at jackhmwong.com/apply.